Okay. So hi everyone. It's Misha Ciarán or Deoráin, as we say in Irish. Today I am joined by none other than William Kedjanyi. So I think our plan right now is to discuss day one from the DRF, and then I think in another video we will then discuss day two from the DRF. So I think we'll start off at the very start with the Nathaniel Lacey or the Golden Signet, depending on what's your preference. I think there'll be not much disagreement as to the quality of Final Demand, but I think we'll start off by asking William. Do you think that connections are right to be going down the Turner's route with Final Demand? And have you any other thoughts on the race?
I think they are on balance right to be going for the Turners with him. Um, I think he's got such a huge engine. I think he will be fine in the Arrow Bartlett, but I can understand him not wanting to take a horse who's had three lifetime starts to a race which can be a bit of a bruiser. He's clearly not short of speed for all that he is a stayer and a free miler. And also the Turners this year has a sort of profile where I think it is relatively up for grabs unless a certain horse who we'll discuss later decides to go that way. Um, so no, I think it's fair enough that they go for the Turners. I do get the feeling that he'd want a well-run Turners. I get the feeling he's got an engine where he winds up and up and up, and then hits top gear. But he travelled well enough on Saturday to suggest that I don't think it'd be a huge problem.
Yeah, I think in the Turner trip, I think I try to think it's 2 miles five. So like yesterday, like,
Yeah.
it's not like a huge step down. It's only the one furlong. Obviously, Cheltenham,
Mm.
like it is stiff now, or it's on the old course, and I think always like about this race, maybe not much pace in the race. I think there's a shorter run into the first hurdling. Like obviously compared to Supreme, like there's not the same roar. I think like in the Supreme, like horses get lit up, and you obviously get like just go hard in front, and you're gonna get like that a torrid pace up front. But I'm just looking here to say I'll just check her. So this must be NO or NB, but I think Final Demand is what he's was he where's the longest? I think he's 11-4 in places, then he's 9-4 in others. I think you New Line, who is I think is he two is Denise, and then you got he's 10-3 with I think with Betfair, and you got Kopek, who is 7-2, or he's 9-2 I think with Betfair. Well, I think Willie said today that Kopek. Oh, obviously we'll discuss him in the next video, but Kopek was actually going to be going Supreme, and the Final Demand will be Turner's. This will be interesting for me because like for me, Willie kind of has three good novices. He's Final Demand, he's Kopek de Board, and he's Salvatore Mundi. Now, I think there's probably broad agreement that on Kopek de Board and Final Demand, like that they're very promising novice hurdlers. Salvatore Mundi, much more contentious. And I would have thought coming into like this weekend, because Willie seemed very keen on Salvatore Mundi. He seemed to be pretty much saying, okay, he's our supreme horse, and he seemed to be shooting down all your ideas. And then Kopek de Board comes up and hacks up today, kind of throws a spanner in the works, but like I think Town will probably want to ride all three, but like I mean, if Final Demand is going Turners, then I mean, is that going to be able to ride all three? So that kind of
Mm.
complicates matters. But like for me, like you look at his pedigree, he's walking the park and he's out of a Flemingsfirth mare, especially being by Flemingsfirth, you'd think that, or out of a Flemingsfirth mare, sorry, out of a Flemingsfirth mare, you think he's obviously a really strong stayer, and like I mean, he's bred to be a chaser, so I mean, like he's not really entitled to be a particularly good novice hurdler, but he obviously looks like he's much better than his pedigree, or much more, I'd say, forward than his pedigree would suggest. Hence maybe another thing to note, which is the owners. So we obviously had Brian Drew. Was it during this week he was taking issue with the prize money in Britain. I was talking about how he'd have more runners, say, in Ireland and in France. I mean, I think maybe I'm missing one, but I think Final Demand is the first runner of his I can think of under Willie Mullins, and you already have a Grade One winner here, an anti-post favourite, for Cheltenham. Um, I don't know if that really bodes well for British racing that he comes over to Ireland and straight away like he gets a very good horse. Like I mean, if you're a British owner, you're kind of thinking right now, like why not go to Willie Mullins? I think if people kind of bring him up as like monopolizing, say, Irish racing, but at the same time, if you're an owner, do you want to kind of support British racing or do you want to win, like, irrespective of like where it's trained? And I think like most owners seem like they just want winners really, like, and they're not really too patriotic about where the horse is trained. They just want to win. I think and that's kind of the problem everyone's facing right now. Like it's not necessarily that Willie Mullins is a better trainer than everybody else. Like I mean, he's better than most of them anyway. But I think his real strengths are that he's also a better buyer than anyone else, and he doesn't get fleeced at sales. Now maybe he pays big sums privately, like we can't know for sure. But as well as that, he manages very effectively what would be a logistical nightmare for 99% of trainers. So I think that's kind of what all the other trainers are up against.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Sport is cyclical. It used to be sort of the other way around. I remember people thinking Martin Pike would be trainers champion forever and ever and ever, and then Paul Nichols. Uh, he once had the best of the horses from France, and he once also had the best horses from France and the best of the point-to-point horse from Ireland, who came and became, his big staying chase army. In terms of where the owners will go, I think I don't know. I hope I'm not being too controversial when I say this. I think the better racing experience is in Ireland at the moment, and I think that is playing a part. But I do think you are right in the sense that most just want winners,
Yeah.
particularly for the amounts they're investing in the game. Willie Mullins has a brilliant ability to keep owners happy, um, but also not just that, but it's a sheer level of success. Everybody's got a horse of Willie now. Michael O'Leary came back to him, right? And not vice versa, and how mental is that to say? Um, it's a notable horse, by the way, for Tisdall and for Drew. Might be one of the better ones they've ever had. Possibly, let's see how he goes in his career. But I would say at the moment, the direction of travel is very much in that sense. It is towards Ireland. I think it will continue to be so, not just because of the success, but also for other factors. I think another thing we also need to remember is just a couple of weeks ago, there was, I think, an argument that you could have made that Willie Mullins might not win any of the three novice hurdles at Cheltenham. And if you go back a month or two, you could have argued that he may not. I know it's probably a stretch, but you could argue that you could find a better chance in a Willie Mullins horse in any of the novice races at the festival. Maybe bar the Brown Advisory, and even then, until his unfortunate injury, the jukebox man had an excellent chance. So yeah, he's got all the ammo at the moment, but I think we should be careful of being too pessimistic one way or the other.
Yeah, but I think Willie's form. I think there's some more question in the form of December, like at the Christmas
Mm,
meeting in Leopardstown. Like I mean, look, they weren't running great. I think they're my read on it is like they're running better than they were back then. I don't
yeah.
think this squad is quite as strong as what's gone before, although like it's still a very strong squad. I mean, like I was thinking maybe a few weeks ago that Gordon, like some were saying Nicky, I thought Gordon was kind of well placed to be contend this year, but I just think like Willie will probably win. Like Willie's probably he'll win six minimum anyway. Like that'll probably be the expectation. He just has so many horses running, like there's so many good ones that I mean like it's always possible for him to win like fewer than six. Like he mightn't win, say, was it
Mm.
nine? I think in 20, try 10 and 22, and then 9 and 23. I think that might be a bit beyond him, but I think like six or seven, he'd probably be leading trainer again. I think that's probably a relatively decent expectation. Have you any other eye catchers from the race or any other thing to note from the Nathaniel Lacey?
Um, I thought Wingmen. I know he was second, but I thought he and Mozzie Star ran decent enough races. She also did a fair few disappointed badly. Super Sunday was dreadfully disappointing.
Yeah.
There was Joystick. I thought the ground would be okay for Joystick. It didn't. It looked okay on the Saturday, but I thought there was plenty enough juice in it. It's been a wet enough couple of weeks in Ireland. I think you'd be disappointed with them. Sounds Victorious also. I know that I did put him up, so maybe I'm sort of doing it from a oh well, this is a horse of fancy perspective, but uh didn't I thought you'd see a bit more from him. I thought stepping him. I think he will be a good horse stepping up, but maybe it's more that he will be a marathon handicap chaser rather than say a graded horse over the 3 miles. Yasmin DeVoe, ooh,
I don't know where you go with him.
it's difficult, really
Yeah.
difficult. It's wild to say about a horse that's won a champion bump, or maybe it's not. He looks tripless very quickly, doesn't he?
I
Having
think I don't think the issue is the trip. I think the issue is the obstacles, I'd say, more so than anything
it,
else.
yeah, yeah, still can't jump. So I don't know what you do with him. This is about one horse really. There weren't really terribly big eye catchers in behind. Wingmen, you could send him to an Albert Bartlett now.
Yeah.
because if final demand doesn't go, um, then off the top of my head, that race is really open. There are a bunch of British horses who have beaten each other, and then there's JetBlue who went and won the Grade Two Cheltenham in December. So why not?
If final demand goes Turners, does the yellow clay get rerouted from the Turners to the Albert Bartlett? I mean, at the
It'll
moment,
be the smart thing to do, right?
yeah, because now I think Gordon said that Wingman is going to the Albert Bartlett. Now let's look at the form here. Like, now you don't want to take it literally. Final demand yesterday beat Wingman by I think by 12 lengths. And I think
Mm.
Wingman finished. I think it was 11 lengths behind yellow clay.
Yeah.
In at least. So, I mean, like they kind of come out similarly enough. No, I probably have final demand ahead of the yellow clay, but I mean, I think the yellow clay, like he's by Yates. I think sons and daughters of Yates are not exactly designed to go that fast. I think he'd probably be better suited to the Turners. But I mean, like we've seen in recent years, like okay, maybe it's a bit of a stereotype that I get your Turner's horse like is a horse that change gear and they can drop down to maybe like the champion hurdle trip the year after. Like I mean, that's traditionally where they've had the most success. I mean, there's the talk of the what used to know the Ballymore curse. The horses didn't really go on, but like I'm looking at like the new lion, like he's a full brother to Katira, who's been obviously running over the stairs hurdle trip this year. Violent Man, I think, will be a staying chaser in time. It was the same for Yellow Clay, 6 Mile Bridge, Potter's Charm. Like, none of these are really, I think, classically quick types. Like, they all seem like kind of stairs, kind of dropping down. So I'm not really too sure. This seems like a bit of a weird Turners, I think, compared to previous years.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. It usually tends to be that the turn is actually there's the old myth at Cheltenham, which is that you send your stronger staying tight to the turners and you send your speed tight to the Supreme. When actually, history kind of dictates you do the opposite,
Yeah,
and you send the speedy tight to the turners and your strong staying tight to the Supreme. And the turners this year is filled with mostly at the moment horses who really finish their races strongly. It'll be very interesting to see the final makeup of that field because the pace will be very important.
yeah,
There are a number of horses there and prominent in the betting now who wouldn't want to try and sprint.
yeah.
Uh, so I think I think if Kopech does go to the Turners, I mean I don't think they will send him. I actually do think look, it's my gut feeling. I think that he'll be sent to Supreme. We'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
I'll just make that here. Um, but if that was to be the case, I think it'll be one of those things where they try and do a Slade steal, basically.
Yeah,
And they try basically and wait till the last bit and avoid final demand or whatever, which would be the wise thing to do.
yeah,
I think Wingman probably earns a shot at the Albert Bar anyway.
yeah.
Just looks the sort of horse that race and mm, he the Martin Pipe, is he too high for that now? I'd fancy him in a Martin Pipe anyway.
I think
Um,
I think Wingman is 139, so was it 145?
yeah,
You have to avoid being put up £6, I think, for the Martin Pipe.
okay.
Yeah.
I think I'd send both to the Albert Bartlett if it
Okay.
was me.
I think we'll given they're both the same still, so you're not rather trying to win two different races with two different horses. Hmm?
Hmm.
Yeah. I think
Um, See, the thing is, I get that. I get you can do that. I think it depends on the make of the turners, whatever. I think it depends on the makeup. Um, I wouldn't be afraid of taking on final demand or whatever with him because he's clearly got a really big engine himself. But I get the feeling that if the turners this year is a, I'd say 8, 9 runner-ish field, but there's not much pace on. I don't think that suits him. And I can he might do a Galliard do a Neil
yeah,
um, and or a Brave Man's Gate and needs to be wound up and up and whatever, and an Imperi pass type
yeah,
will do him in for speed.
yeah. No, that's possible. I think it's possible. Yeah.
Mm,
So I think next you might just move on to the next race
mm.
at Leopardstown, which was the juvenile hurdle. I think they've changed the name of it. I think they want to give it its
Yeah,
title. So where are we? Sorry, that wrong one. Gannon City Recovery and Recycling Services Juvenile Hurdle. So hello neighbor. The Harzand half brother to A Wave of the Sea. Who won the race 5 years ago. So I think he emulated his half sibling in winning yesterday. So what are your thoughts on this race, William?
I was impressed. I was impressed by Hello Neighbor. I think he deserves his shot at the Triumph. I think the Triumph is staying in Britain.
Staying in Britain.
Sorry, I think the Triumph is going to Britain,
Yeah,
I should say.
yeah,
Um, I was impressed with him. He traveled really well. Didn't get enough of a pace to run at. He had a first time hood. He still didn't really settle, but there wasn't a lot of pace on visually. It didn't look like there was a lot of
Yeah,
pace on. So I can forgive him that. The impressive thing was the way he went into it around the home turn, then the way that Lady Vega Allen, who ran a good race. I thought she was the one today. Came up to him, tried to fight him, just just didn't have any answer. He stepped forward from Christmas time, from St. Stephen's Day. He'll travel really sweetly. If he has pace and a try thing that will help him, you wouldn't find him any better than him in the traveling stakes. But I looked at it, and I think Lamamba and East India Dot remain the ones to beat. He
yeah,
can go and give him a race for sure, but when it comes down to it, I think it's more likely than not that Britain will win their triumph this year. One of those two. Thought it was good. Galileo Dame ran a lovely race. They'll find something to do with her. Plenty of opportunities both sides, or both coasts, I should say. Lady Vega Allen's run a lovely race. William well was an eye catcher. Some were saying he might be one for the Boodles. I think he can go and chuck him in there for sure. Probably needs to do a bit of growing up still, but I don't think he ran a terrible race. I think it was really about one horse, and that horse is now a triumph contender. The others will need to be rerouted, I think, around the rest of the Brits.
yeah. I think it seems like the Irish challenge, especially the Willie Munnell challenge this year, is speaking up. I think he's had some very good juvenile hurdles the last three,
Mm.
4 years, but he seems somewhat weaker this year. I think like it was particularly poor performance from Saint Lucie. Like hello neighbours you kind of mentioned there. He travelled much the best into the race, and he's actually travelling like very powerfully coming towards the final hurdle. We didn't really put that much distance between them kind of after, so I'm kind of wondering like I mean, like is he a bit of a bridle horse or is he just idling? Like that's if he's idling, like you think like maybe okay, maybe he's underrated coming at the triumph. Maybe he can turn over Lulamba and he's dead in the dock. But I mean, we'll never know. I mean, and he's unbeaten to date on both, across both the flat and over hurdles. So I mean, he can only beat what's put in front of him, and he's done that to date. But yeah, I think I probably prefer East India Dock, I think, over Lamba. I think my good sense is that Sergino was probably ahead of Lamba, and then East India Dock is probably ahead of Burdett Road from last year. So I think that's kind of swung more so in James Owen's favour than Nicky Henderson's favour this year. But I think another thing about East India Dock going to Triumph is that he'll put major pace into the race. I don't know whether that'll suit Hello Neighbour because he's by Hars and I think his dam was a Monjou mare, so I think he doesn't necessarily lack stamina. But I think at the same time, like he's a flat horse, and so is East India Dock. I don't think either of them were black type horses on the flat, but yeah, I think yeah, I don't know whether the stronger pace will help Hello Neighbour, to be honest with you, but yeah, I think not as strong a challenge from Willie this year in the Triumph.
No, I'd agree. I think all sensible points. I do think he was idling. I do think he had the race in hand. I think he went on, sort of nearly pulled himself, or not nearly pulled himself up, but he went on. He won it easier, I think, than he even expected, and then was just basically being kept up to his work. I think he had more in hand than the distance suggested. I think he was quietly quite impressive, really. Um, how it will work in a triumph remains to be seen because obviously it's a very long run in a triumph. You tend to need to get down and dirty. Whoever you are, even the last year, even Marlborough or whatever, went down and dirty, found something. But no, I think there's lots to like. And yeah, he's a good horse. Goes to Cheltenham, realistic chance. I think if it connects to the first four, you can be very happy. But I don't think it will have the impact on the juvenile scene that it has in the past.
Right. I actually think something worth noting is that I kind of mentioned it there previously, but like Hello Neighbour, he is the half brother to A Wave at Sea, and then you got
Mm.
like East India Dock is the half brother to Burdett Rose. You have obviously have the in two cases we have these horses who are actually like quite well bred as far as juvenile hurdlers go in both Britain and Ireland, and yet they're both gelded. And it seems to be like the balance of power in terms of national sires is really based in France now. British jumps breeding has never been strong, but I think like I mean Irish jumps sires at the moment, like you got Walk the Park, you got Blue Brazil, but especially like Walk in the Park, like he's 23 this year. Like I mean, you're wondering like where the young horse is coming through and like where's the like where's the development program as for like for these sires? It seems like all the good sires coming from France. You have the likes of say was Nietzsche Ha, and he won at Chepstow. He won the finale stakes, didn't he? Or finale hurdle back on the 27th, and like he goes to stud.
Mhm.
Then there seems to be like this development program for French, sires that they kind of race as 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, kind of win these greater races. They're in tires, then they go to stud. There seems to be no real comparable, program in Britain or Ireland, and you kind of do wonder whether an implementation of such a program would actually, help the breed and help, say, jump sires, in Britain and Ireland. So I think there's maybe a lack of forward thinking there. I think it's something to note going forward.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Don't think there'd be anything wrong with that at all. I mean, you mentioned it, but Nietzsche has so looked very useful, very up to it, and how rare must it be to see a juvenile herd, though, even in France or even in French, from retired? But no, I think anything that can be done to improve the breed, we should look at definitely.
Yeah. I think we might just skip over the handicaps. I'm a bit of a racing snob. I think if it's not black type or it's not a maiden, I tend not to be that interested in it. I think the flip side of that is that I'm not. If you want to ask me about betting, I wouldn't be your man. I wouldn't say I'm remotely related to a good judge. So I think I tend to lead the. I know I wouldn't be a big betting man anyway. But actually just kind of actually note there that Harzan is actually very close to a big race double there. Is he had Hello Neighbor in the in the Triumph in the juvenile, and then he actually had Gway Cool come second in the handicap behind Percival Le Galois. I think just on a slight tangent, Gway Cool is the Irish
Oh,
for tail.
that's a superb bit of knowledge. I love that.
That's not that's for tell you. Gway Cool is the Irish for tailwind. I think actually there was nothing. There was no tailwind about Leopardstown. It was all a headwind yesterday. It's actually, I was freezing in the stands.
How's the atmosphere out of interest? Because
Oh, it's good. I
it
mean,
can be buzzing.
I think we'll probably get to it later. But I think for Galloping Des Champs, I mean, I think I don't. What price do you go off? Was it 2-1 on?
I think it was 2-1. We sent him off, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we sent off Bottlon.
Yeah, I mean, I think like no one was getting rich on that. You think you see the celebrations. Like it was like I mean, yeah, I think it really was as kind of appeared on the audio or for people watching in. I think like that I was a bit like a schmuck. I was kind of running as the Americans say. I was running. I actually right after the race I kind of ran to the parade ring to make sure I didn't miss out. But like it was basically thronged. I think the article in the Racing Post there from Thursday could not have aged any worse. Um, I think next, just that's we're getting ahead of ourselves now, but I think we might just go first to the Irish Arkle that Majbra took home ahead of Touch Me Not. So, William, what is your opinion on this, and how do you think the Arkle is shaping up between Sergino and Majbra?
You should only be extremely impressed with Margeborough. This is the sort of performance that I'd say he's been threatening to put in, but he's just been very impressive since he came to Willie Runs. I mean, triumph winner on his second start for the stable. He's only had the five starts. Looked really good in pretty much every one of them. It's interesting, by the way, on the note that the juvenile form from last year is working out really quite well. They all look pretty useful. They're all graduating with flying colours at the moment. His jumping was not perfect, but he was scopy. When he was asked, he was fine. He will need to sharpen up though at Cheltenham because Sergino put in the better round of jumping, I felt, than Majba did yesterday. But I imagine that they'll be sharper to both of them when they get there. I can't wait for the clash in the Arkle. I'd be a Sergino person still, but one thing I will say is Sergino beat a free miler around Kempton
Yeah.
on a really sharp track on good ground when I don't think that some of his compatriots were running at his best. Madge was come and smashed up. I know Il Atlantique disappointed, and I don't know what was wrong, but I had to have been physical. You drop like that. It wasn't even in the conversation to sort of drop out. Um, I was impressed. I think you got me impressed. I think it's on. I think the race is on in the Arkle. I'd be a Gino person, but look at it this way. At one point, had you asked me who would be your best bet at the festival, I'd say Gino. I wouldn't say it now.
Who would be your best bet at the festival?
I'll give you two. One is John Bond. The other is wherever he goes.
Yeah. I think we can get onto them later, but they kind of
We'll
tie
get
in
onto it later.
more today too.
Um, but I do really think it's on. Just quickly, Touch Me Not, um, and Firefox. I think they ran credible enough races. Firefox may be perfect for the Manifesto and Officers Chase that opens the Aintree Festival, or he could go to the Powers Gold Cup. 2.5 miles, I think, would be great for Firefox. Touch Me Not will surely find something to run in. They could go to Punchestown, they could go to Aintree. I think something like that would be interesting to see. I think those would be the right place I'd send them. Janua Lapan, who gosh, he's a unit, isn't he?
But
He's
I was actually out of the parade ring to see him coming by. It's like, no, you're on Jurassic Park when was it Sam Neill as was a Dr. Alan Grant standing up and he kind of puts his head on Ellie Sattler or Laura Dern. And he just kind of gets up and it says she takes out the sunglasses and it's like what that's like me watching like Jean Olapan going by. I mean I mean I think Majbura's big and then you see Jean Olapan. I mean
yeah, just I mean, look, promising horse. He's run well, run well, taking that step up in trip. There'll be something to be found with him for sure. It'll be fascinating to see where he goes. I don't think he disgraced himself at all.
yeah.
Not that like if he did, to be fair, he's not the sort of horse he's not the sort of guy you go and tell disgrace yourself and the size of him. But thought he ran credibly enough. He was outsped. He might go to Fairy House. Maybe he might step up and trip. Go
Yeah.
to one of those places. I think there are a few horses at the moment who will really come into their own when they find a 2 mile, four, etc. Race, and I do think we are seeing the benefit of the Cheltenham changes, but also for other races. The manifesto, the Powersville Cup, etc. They're all going to look much more competitive now.
Yeah, I think Willie isn't happy because I think he probably thinks
Yeah.
2.5 miles.
Well, he's foaming because he wants to send. He should be sending. Or I won't delve too quickly in it, but he's foaming because I know that he wants to be sending Ballyband there, and I think he wants to be sending Dancing City to the Browns, but sometimes you've got to take the choices away from him.
Yeah, I think that's another discussion for probably the day two review. But for me on Majbra, like I mean, you said it's very impressive. I thought it was a good performance. I don't know if it was necessarily that outstanding. It probably didn't. It didn't seem quite like Sergino, although as you said, like Sergino form, like how strong is it? It's probably quite hard to quantify given they're like the only four runners. And like I mean, like if you rate Ballyburn highly, you rate Sergino highly. But if you don't rate Ballyburn highly, you have to kind of mark
Mm.
Sergino down as well. Like they're fairly well linked there. But like
Plus,
man,
also, he was on home field, and Ballymun is look, if he's a 2 miler, he's like a sort of we discussed this past in the past. He's like a kicking king style 2 miler,
yeah.
and he's got to go around Kempton on good ground. And is it any wonder we got out zipped?
Yeah. I think like Majbur for me, like, jumping mistakes, I didn't think were that bad. I thought he was able to get himself actually out of trouble quite neatly. Like they're quite novelty mistakes. They wouldn't worry me too badly. But I think like I love Majbur. I love the idea of him. But I think he's really a staying chaser with gears for me. I just think up against Sergino, he's up against like a pure raw 2 miler. Like Nicky's had John Bond, he's had Altior, he's had Shishkin, this time Sprinter Sacra. But like really none of them like most of them for me were 2.5 milers masquerading as 2 milers. Like Sprinter Sacra was the last true like top notcher who was an out and out 2 miler. Sergino seems that way to me. He just seems like pure pace. So like I just think like I mean I just don't think Majbra like look it was over 3 miles. I think like Majbra it'd be a different story, but like um over 2 miles I just think I just can't see Majbra defeating Sergino. Probably another thing to note is actually this can be a tiny field. Like looking at the betting here,
Mm.
like Sergino, Majbert, you got Loda Sula, these 14s, then you got Firefox 20s, Into Pocket 20s, Ballyburn 25s. Like this could be a four-runner article.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
A bunch of those simply won't go repos. Some of them will go up and trip. Some just won't go. Only three definite runners at the moment. Yeah, you're right. It could be. Um, the year Shishkin won his Arkle,
I think
I
it was
think was it.
Shishkin, All Mankind, Captain Guinness, Franco Deport, and who am I missing? Oh, Tizard Horse, not Elixir to Nuts, Eldorado Allen. Five.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah. You're right by the way. As you are absolutely right, and it was. Yeah, fire. I can see something like that again.
Yeah, I think I actually might just move on quickly here. I think
Nice.
Zoom isn't actually going to be that kind to us for how long this meeting can last. But
Mhm.
let's move on to the big show of the day, the Irish Gold Cup and Gallop on the Champ. So I think I might just show off my Weatherby's mug here. I have Gallop on the Champ.
Well, let's see
And
this.
we're just kind of showing off. And what can you see there? There, sorry, is that blurred out? You see, actually, it's got the
Yeah, I
pedigree.
can see it. Oh, that's brilliant.
I got that a while ago. Actually, I have
That's good
you
stuff.
can now maybe compare it to Coat Star. So there's that one as well. But, probably
Nice.
the other thing I have a note here is actually something T Rays. You like this? Michael T Higgins T Hose. Sorry, Michael D Higgins T Cozy. So Michael T Higgins. Um, we're back to regularly scheduled program, and I think where what was your view on the Irish Gold Cup? I don't think it'll be that controversial. I think everyone had the same opinion on it.
Yeah, Gallopin was really good. Um, I think I don't know if we take it for granted that he always is, but God, he's very consistent, isn't he? Can't remember his last real blowout or if ever. Um, I think if Paul Townsend wanted to be more distracted than he could have been, but he didn't need to be. He's got a fair dash on him for a 3 miler now.
Yeah,
Like some of them, you can get them in trouble if it's a sprint, and he seemed just fine. He ran really well to the line, stretched impressively. Everybody enjoyed themselves. It was one of those moments where it wasn't really about the betting, it was about the sport, which is lovely.
yeah,
Um, I think it's really lovely and really important. And I know everybody was making fun of it, and I think it is worth. Look, people will always have to write these things, etc. But good Lord, imagine it being the person who would have had to approve the piece or the headline asking about whether he wasn't quite capturing the imagination of the public, and then seeing all of that.
yeah,
I mean, he was it was unreal. It was a bit like a Super Bowl champion coming home.
yeah,
I was only watching it, and I wasn't even watching it from home, but there was a. It seemed like there was a huge buzz about it.
yeah,
Everybody was sort of electrified. Everybody was elated to see him, and I think, look, I think people have been appreciative of him anyway. I don't really understand where the idea that he was being underrated or wherever came from. But God, if it was the case that some people that he hadn't like got into the imagination before he has now,
yeah.
that was great to see.
I think,
Just quickly, couple of brief notes, and then I'll spin through them quickly. I'm probably saying because I'm a bit mad. I had the reverse forecast. Where I put it the reverse forecast Galapan and factor file.
oh,
Yeah, how can you lose this, right?
yeah,
And Grange Clare West, he came, he ran a race. I think William Evans will be really pleased with that. Factor file, a little bit disappointing, a little bit.
I think he's booked in for the Ryanair now. I think everyone.
No, he's not fitting for the Ryanair. Speed in hindsight, that Brown advice with a small field just became a dash, didn't it? And he
Yeah,
just down.
yeah. But like, how strong was it? Kind of like, I mean,
Yeah, also, yeah, did this as well. As for the rest, bunch of national triers in behind. I know the way you're thinking is really interesting to me. You could go anywhere. Yeah, and I think really it was all about Galapan. A couple of eye catchers in behind. Who can stop him at Cheltenham? God knows.
yeah. But I think Gallipan, like, I mean, look, it's hardly controversial to say when it comes to the Gold
Yeah.
Cup. I mean, he gets there in 100% shape. He's okay on the day. He jumps around well. He just get bad luck. There's nothing there to beat him. Like I think Ile Francais maybe. Like I know. I mean, he won't be suited. I just can't see 3 miles too far along improving him. As the same for Banbridge. And for me, Gallopin, I actually think this year he's looked better than ever. I think he's nearly almost the perfect racehorse. I think like for it to have such like a broad CV and like grade one success after grade one success after grade one success, you can't be on your A game every day. You have to be able to win in your B game. It's just like for him, yes, sake. I mean, he probably isn't his B game. He just kind of you book him out in front, he jumps, he travels, he cruises, and then he actually quickens right at the end. Like I mean, like if you're looking for any good racehorse, like start on the flat, you look for a horse who can cruise, you look for a horse who can quicken, and you look for a horse who can stay. He can do all three, and he could also jump, which is fairly important for a jumps horse. I mean, like it's almost hard to crab him. He makes the extraordinary look also ordinary, really. I mean, he just makes it look so kind of run of the mill, and it's not run of the mill, you know. And that's probably his greatest achievement to date. Yeah, so I don't think of anything really to add other than that. Other than that, I think like the Irish Gold Cup. I mean, it's great to see kind of there's such a reaction to it. Like like some people see it like this is a stepping stone to Cheltenham, and it is like it's a big race in its own right, and kind of compare with the flat where you kind of where it's big thing to win say the Eclipse or the Juddmonte, and like no other race really matters that time. It kind of felt yesterday like I mean no one's really thinking about Cheltenham. It was just about winning the Irish Gold Cup for Gallopans. So I think that was kind of I think jumps racing probably needs that because it's just too Cheltenham centric. I think especially the first 2 weeks of January where like I mean like mind-numbingly dull in terms of like the lack of racing. So I think it's good from a like jumps racing perspective that actually is now something like the DRF that can actually you kind of take attention away from Cheltenham a little bit. So I think that's probably beneficial. So do you have any other closing points to make, William?
No, I think what you said about Gallopin is spot on, and about the fact that it was an occasion outside of Cheltenham, and I think we should celebrate those in jump racing. I think he's sort of one of those. He's one of those horses that I think have helped the Dublin Racing Festival. Um, you know, how they moved to British Champions Festival on the flat. They moved to Champions Stakes, they actually made it
I
Champions
know this
Festival.
is a disaster, anyway, but
Yeah, well, look for another day. But Frankel hugely helps that. Frankel massively helped that. I'm not saying Galopin de Champs is sort of Frankel, but it's in the same sort of vein. I think that sort of occasion has really helped cement the success of Dublin Racing Festival, and it is now a success. Whatever you think about the fact Mullins and Constantine are putting up like 90% of the run or whatever, you can't deny the outcomes are good. Um, and I think, yeah, he was great. Great occasion. And I'll tell you what, Paul Townend, I've rarely ever seen him. He does enjoy himself, and good man for doing so on a big occasion. Gosh, I've never seen him smile like that. Not quite like that.
I think yeah, he's a bit of a I don't know what's the criticism taciturn. He wouldn't give much away.
Mm.
Um, I think yeah, I think that's probably all there's to say. I think Zoom is telling me that there's 1 minute 33 seconds left. So I'm gonna kick this off. So I think we'll conclude our day one review.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably put up a day two review video later if possible. So I think for now, thanks William and see you later.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, William.